So I was recently invited to be the director of photography on my very first short film. It's something that I've been very excited to finally get the opportunity to do, and I really wanted to work hard to make sure that it went smoothly, essentially. So let's get into how I did it. So about a month prior, my friend Alberto, the director, gave me a phone call and asked if I would DP a short for him. Obviously, I've been trying to get this opportunity for a long time. I immediately said yes. I know he's got talent and he's done some really great stuff in the past. So it was kind of a no-brainer. So I finally read the script, everything's cool. And then I ask him, how many days do we got to shoot this? And the long story short was we had 1 day, 15 pages, and 2 locations. So immediately I knew that this project would take a lot of really precise planning in order to be able to execute it, because 1 day and 15 pages is not really an easy feat. So cool, we had our shot list. The director was kind of had a good idea of what he wanted, but I knew the biggest influencer was going to be the location we use, because if we can make a shot list and a storyboard and make it perfect however we want, but if we get to the location and it doesn't actually work out, it's kind of a bust. We kind of held our own little tech scout. We weren't able to bring a ton of crew, so the location was set mostly in a gas station and in an apartment. The apartment I wasn't super worried about, but the gas station, we had basically 90% of the script to shoot there. We used a program called Artemis Pro, and we framed up almost every single shot that we wanted to use in the film. And we were able to kind of frame it up, talk about how much time things would take to set these shots up, what kind of lighting. And most importantly, I was making sure that the director was happy with the way it was going to be shot. I think clear communication between me and him was crucial, or else you end up with problems down the road when the director looks at the shot and he's like, that's not what I wanted. I went ahead and also took as many photo references of the location and video as I could, and I immediately sent it to the gaffer, when we had that location locked. I would have loved to bring him on the tech scout, but everything was so time sensitive. Unfortunately, I could not bring him on. But luckily I come from a grip and electric background, so I have a really good idea of like what we're getting ourselves into, what I'm getting G&E into. I had enough time to prep for the short that I went into a program called Cine Tracer, and I went ahead and rebuilt the entire gas station based off the reference photos I had, and I basically pre-lit every major scene that I could, and try to get it kind of where I wanted it. I think this is kind of my way of like living the shoot before I even step onto set. Kind of helps me predict the future a little bit. I can see how many lights I need. I can kind of imagine like, okay, maybe we're gonna have to rig certain lights to the ceiling. It's gonna take this amount of time. So I was able to integrate all those frames into my shot list, so everybody had a clear visual of what the next shot was going to be, what it was going to look like, roughly how it was going to be lit. But more importantly, I was able to look at these shots and kind of use it as my reference for when I put the schedule together with the director. So building the schedule was, to say the least, a challenge on this one. I got all the shots framed up, and then I kind of started thinking about it, and I was like, oh, wait a second. 1, 2, 3. Oh my gosh. We have 28 shots to get inside a gas station. And on top of that, the director contacts me and says, yo, we only have 8 8 or 9 hours to shoot at this location due to business hours, other restrictions, and my world fell apart. But I just had to take a break for a day, kind of shut off all that like self-doubt thoughts and stuff, and I was like, okay, I think I need to just look at everything from a different perspective. I need to lower my expectations on like what kind of lighting setups we can do. When I looked at the schedule again, I was like, okay, I think we can actually do this. Like, I think this is actually possible. So the first location was a little bit more loosey-goosey. I wasn't as stressed out about it. You know, we didn't have such a crazy hard out. So we just kept it simple. I knew that if I wanted to create contrast and bring the levels of my background down, I had to push something really bright through the windows, and I had to expose for that light. So we pushed a 1200D, kind of raked the back wall. We cut it so we got like a nice straight looking shaft of light. For our key light, I think we ended up just opening up the blinds a little bit. I originally had this vision of punching a light through it and stuff, but the blinds worked beautifully, honestly. And then we put a what I would call a plantaloris, just a bunch of leaves from Dollar Tree tightened down onto a lollipop on a combo. Basically got a little bit of a tree texture. If we had more time, I think I would have tried to tweak it more, but you know, when you're DP, you got to push to get the image as good looking as possible, but you also got to be mindful of being able to make your day. So for the second location, when it came to lighting approach, we had to be extremely efficient. So here's some of the things that I did to make sure that we were actually able to pull something like that off. Basically what we do is we'd shoot our exterior scenes basically with 1 or 2 lights, super minimal crew, and we'd also pre-light our 2 main scenes. And then the lighting was the same for 2 of the scenes, 2.5 of the scenes. So we basically were able to reuse the lighting. That saved us a ton of time, and we were already lit. One shot in particular that I really enjoyed was we had an f/22 pushing through a 4x frame of 216. That was all we had available. We used a little MT Pro from Aperture as just a little kicker light, and I motivated that red to match the Sinclair logo of the gas station. And I think it just gave it just a nice little extra something. So really happy with how that shot turned out. So once we're done with the exterior shots, we went ahead and moved inside. So we had this big dolly shot, and I went ahead and over budgeted time for it because I knew that it was kind of a complicated shot. We had to light basically 2 areas, potentially, in order to make it work. So I budgeted like a full 45 minutes or something just for that shot, and that was after G&E pre-lit everything. And that ended up being a really good thing because I think we used that time. I was able to kind of look at it and be like, okay, all right, if we haul and we get a little bit ahead of this shot, that buys us tons of time for the rest of the shoot. Basically, the philosophy for all of our shots for the rest of the gas station was just putting lights in certain spaces where we wanted to kind of control the level of that area in the background and try to separate our subjects from the background a little bit. Our main workhorse was the Aperture f/22C. We just rigged that to the ceiling, and we basically keyed our talent from that. And when we'd flip to our reverse, we would just kind of tilt it and move it to the other side. And we were able to very quickly get this natural toppy light that felt natural to the location. We were able to just kind of wrap it around their faces and sweeten it up. So, and then the last thing we did to control ambient is we got what I believe was a Aperture 600C, and we just blasted that into the ceiling. And basically we controlled our ambient that way. And that was something I didn't plan for in previs. And this is where it comes to really trusting your gaffer's experience and knowledge. So Tenzin recommended that we just shoot a light up into the ceiling instead of rigging a bunch of tubes, and we were able to control our ambience that way. So when you're working with an experienced gaffer, never doubt them. You know, they got experience, they know how to do things faster, and that's why they're the gaffer. For the fridge scene, we killed all of our house lights, had basically our main key light coming from the existing fridge lights. We controlled the ambience with our 600C. We also put a light directly above them. We magnetized it to the ceiling. That gave them a little bit of a toppy light for our wide, and I think it kind of helped key them and get a little bit of light on one side of their face. And then when we went into our coverage, we just put an infinity bar inside the fridge, and we just kind of used it to kind of wrap the light around their face. Probably one of my favorite shots on the interior was a shot where we're looking at our main character Dean, and then we pan over to Priscilla, she's kind of talking about some deeper subjects, you know, about her past and stuff. She kind of turns away and looks off into the distance and talks to him, and I just love the camera move we used. And when she turned around, we brought in one more F22. We just added in a little bit extra light. We got a little bit of that checkerboard lighting. We had a couple tubes kind of wrapping the background. We just used that to give us more pools of light, control the ambience. This shot was basically the epitome of the goal of how I wanted the gas station to look. Just the contrast levels, you know, the ambience, everything. So I couldn't have been more happy with that shot. I knew that the schedule wouldn't be perfect, and we would go over at times and we would go under the schedule at times. So we basically bounced back and forth from being ahead and then getting behind. And I knew that I wanted to save all of our least important shots for the very end of the day. You know, these are shots we don't have to refly an actor from Los Angeles again. We basically don't have to stress about it anymore. You know, for the end of the day, we just got a couple B-roll shots, and we got one wide shot, which I saved for the end because I didn't know for sure if we were going to see the ceiling, which means we would have to tear down lights. So we shot that later. We ended up not having to, and we ended up kind of controlling the light. But I knew while we got all of those B-roll shots, they were all really tight shots, and I knew Grip and Electric can be packing the truck and leaving. So that was kind of my way of just buying G&E some more time to get out of the location, because last thing you want to do is have a hard out at a location and G&E can't get out. Also, G&E will just thank you for looking out for them. And yeah, that's how I was the director of photography on my very first short film, and I didn't die. Hopefully some of this information was useful. Again, I just want to thank my crew for being so awesome at what they do and having such a great attitude on set. And I think the most important thing for the short was that we all just have fun. We work with people that we enjoy working with, and I think that made the difference. So peace out, guys. Love you. Thank you for watching. And hopefully we'll have some more content like this on the YouTube. Peace or something. I'm not a YouTuber anymore, and I don't know. I don't like this whole like smash it. Anyways, bye-bye. Drop the mic or something? No, I'm not gonna drop this mic. It's expensive.